I'm going to do a review of Captain Mar-Vell now, and the reason for that is because I did the trailer for Captain Mar-Vell yesterday. And straight away I should point out, don't be fooled, neither of these characters are the Captain Mar-Vell from the film. Although in all fairness that could be her, because she is usually drawn to look like a man. No, these are... there is loads of Captain Mar-Vells, there is 8, and on the film they chose the Khn'nr version, which is the 8th best version of Captain Mar-Vell out of 8. These two I'll get on to soon, but the first Captain Mar-Vell isn't a Mar-Vell character, he is a DC character. His real name is Billy Batson, but Mar-Vell Comics sued DC so that they can't call him Captain Mar-Vell anymore. They have to call him Shazam. And then we jump over to Mar-Vell Comics and we have their first Captain Mar-Vell. He was an alien who was sent to spy on Earth, but when he was on Earth he realised he liked Earth and he became a superhero and he became an Avenger. He has loads of big stories, like the Kree-Skrull War was one of his, which they have just taken off him and they have given to the rubbish Khn'nr version for the film. He was Fanny's and Dax. Their first appearance was in a Captain Mar-Vell story. He was in the Avengers story where they fight the yellow and purple man that makes them all dead. But his big story was called The Death of Captain Mar-Vell, and then that was like the first ever comic that explored the idea of mortality with a superhero. And in that he died, but he didn't die fighting a supervillain, he died in bed of cancer, and it was sad, and lots of people like that story. Then we have the second Captain Mar-Vell, who was an African-American policewoman who was from New Orleans, and she wasn't even into voodoo, and she was a member of the Avengers, and then she became the leader of the Avengers. And the only reason that she isn't known as one of the best Captain Mar-Vells is because she never really had much of a connection to the name Captain Mar-Vell. Which brings us on to the third one, Genis-Vell. He is hands down the one that they probably should have made a film about, because he has loads of character depth, he is interesting, he is intriguing, he has a really relatable general idea about trying to live up to his father's legacy. So he is the son of the first Mar-Vell Captain Mar-Vell. And if you're thinking, oh, another male superhero, that isn't very diverse, well, he's also bisexual. He's also mentally unwell a bit. He was a member of the Thunderbolts, which is my favourite superhero team of all time. He was briefly in the Avengers in an awful story by Kurt Busiek. And even like its design, it is good, isn't it? Like that is very good. Then there was the fourth Captain Mar-Vell, which was his sister, who was also bisexual. She was just lesbian. And his sister, she didn't get much to do. Then she was replaced with one that was a Skrull, who was impersonating the original Captain Mar-Vell, and the idea there was that the Skrull was sent to spy on Earth, but just like the original Captain Mar-Vell, he realised he liked Earth, and he even liked his race's most hated enemy, Captain Mar-Vell. So that was an interesting parallel. And then after that we had got the next Captain Mar-Vell, which was a Grant Morrison character called Noh-Varr. And he was like an anarchist from another dimension. And he decided to become Captain Mar-Vell because it wasn't a very well-told story. But the general idea of him being Captain Mar-Vell was good because it again paralleled the original story. Because the original, he was like an outsider on Earth. Well, Noh-Varr, he couldn't be more of an outsider on Earth because he was from another Earth. And then there's something to be said about the idea of an anarchist becoming like the champion of his people. Like, that is a good idea. It's just a shame they didn't do it. And then we got to the 8th Captain Mar-Vell, the 8th best Captain Mar-Vell, which is Karen Daggers. She used to be a good character called Miss Marvels, but the thing, what happened is, in 2012 they decided, oh, we do not have any strong female characters that we own the movie rights to, so they decided to just convert Miss Marvels into Captain Mar-Vell. And to do this, she's pretty much just a woman by committee of men who, like, it's all the cliches of what, like, middle-aged men think a strong woman is. Like, she has short hair, she's always sassy, she's always got attitude problems, she's like a little Girl Scout. But then it gets worse, because every story they tell with her is just her being really, like, arrogant and really, like a third-wave feminist, like, beating people up, saying, oh, how dare you call me a girl. And, like, they did this story, well, actually, they've done several stories now, where they're like big crossover events, and the big idea behind it is just make Karen Daggers, like, the baddie in it. Like, there was Civil Wars 2, which was awful, and what they did with that was, they just made her literally, like, a Hitler Youth. And now they're trying to tell us, oh, she is the best female superhero ever. She is the one true Captain Mar-Vell. But she is rubbish. And like, the trailer for the film, it looks boring. And the woman playing her looks bored. And everything about it is just boring. And anyway, the point I wanted to make was that there is more emotion in a single page of this comic than there is in all of the Captain Mar-Vell trailer. This comic is Captain Mar-Vell number 5, but they have forgotten the number, so they put 40 after it. So that is a big typo to make. Then we open up, we have got this advert here, where there is this saying that says, sex, drugs, murder, just what the doctor ordered. If your doctor is prescribing this, I think you should be struck off, because these aren't, like, legal prescriptions. What's happening is, Captain Mar-Vell, the third one, probably the best Captain Mar-Vell, he has gotten all crazy and he got depressed and he killed himself. But he has come back to life and he crawls out of his own grave and he's like, oh, well, this is annoying. And what happens is, right, he's really, like, this is during a period when he was really crazy and he was wanting to, like, be God. What happens is, he's just come back to life and he meets his dead dad and they have this really long, good conversation about, like, what it means to be dead and, like, look at how stupid he looks there. He's like a hippie, new age guru, talking about life energy and death and stuff. And what he does, he just starts beating the shit out of his dad. And it's not just like a little slap or anything, he proper pummels him. And he keeps on doing it, and like all the writing I think is quite good. Like, just a second, let us find it. He's like saying to his dad, did you enjoy watching from Energy Heaven, seeing me ricocheting from this to that to the other thing in the endless search of trying to be you? Must have been effortlessly amusing in a cosmically masturbatory sort of way. And he just keeps on pummeling the crap out of his dad. And then we have, like, look at the state of him, like, he is proper beaten up there. And then what happens is we have these bits here, because what happened is, Captain Mar-Vell's, this one and this one, they were both attached to the Hulk's sidekick, Dick Jones, there. And Dick Jones can see all of this because they're like bonded together. He is narrating here saying, I thought I knew rage. I mean, I hung out with the Hulk, for God's sake. I thought I knew what pure, undiluted fury was like. But I've never seen anything like what Marb does to his father. Never, ever. It makes the Singing in the Rain sequence from Clockwork Orange look like a third-grade ballet recital. And I must nitpick, the film is actually called A Clockwork Orange, not just Clockwork Orange. So, Dick Jones is an idiot. And then what he does is he has beaten up his dad, and then he picks up his dad's own grave and crushes him with it. I mean, that is some very, like, poetic imagery. I mean, it'd probably be, I'd consider it maybe a bit too on the nose, but it is a good comic. All that stuff with the father-son relationship is done really well. I enjoy it. And this is where the comic starts getting spooky, because he's clearly having a breakdown, and look at that. Oh, I've got to change the page. That is scaring us so much. Like, all them mouths and stuff, it's spooky. And then this bloke shows up here, this bloke. And we're like, oh, who is this bloke? And they have this whole discussion about the nature of the universe. And the bloke, he takes Captain Mar-Vell to Earth, and he basically says that how nearly every relationship in the universe follows the same pattern of a father and son relationship, which is a relationship that is mostly some form of seeking approval or being disapproved by the father. And there's this bit here where they're actually doing something political, and you might not notice it at first because it isn't that obvious, but behind them, that is the White House, and he is basically saying this was when George W. Bush was the president back in 1929, and they're saying that basically even him as president, that is in a way trying to get his father, George Bush, his approval. But that is like clever, that, because you don't, like, it's not until you properly look at it that you realise that's what it's doing. It could just be talking about anyone, and that could be anyone's house, or anyone rich, because like I didn't really live in a house like that, and I didn't have a pool. And then, yeah, basically he says that all the universe boils down to that father-son relationship. And he wants Captain Mar-Vell to kill his father, Eternity, which is the living embodiment of everything in the Mar-Vell universe. Now Captain Mar-Vell, he gets out his gun and he's like, well, it's about bloody time, because he's a bit crazy and he wants to kill it. I'm actually going to do a spoiler now. Later in this comic, which is mostly pretty good, you find out that this bloke here, he's likely a delusion of Captain Mar-Vell. So, basically, Captain Mar-Vell just wants to kill the living embodiment of all space and time himself. It is a really good comic, actually. There's an advert for a game that I never played for the Dreamcast, but people talk about like it is amazing. But as I said, this comic is better. They just could have made this comic as a film, and it would have been better looking than the Captain Mar-Vell trailer. This comic is really good. I rate it 7 thumbs up.